You know, I wanted to start kind of a new series to see if you guys would be interested in this kind of stuff. I wanted to go through the history of 2K, right? From the very first game called NBA 2K to current NBA 2K22 and do the oldest, youngest, best shooters, best dunkers, best players, worst players, etc. throughout time, right? And today's video, I wanted to start off with just kind of a test and see who is the oldest player in every single 2K game ever, right? That's what I'm going to cover. I'm excited about it. You know, I'm getting a little old. I got a little gray hairs here and there. So maybe think about it, right? Like how many players at like their 40 years are still balling in the NBA and have good ratings. So I want to see that today. Let's go. All right. So I'm starting off with NBA 2K with Dale Ellis. So Dale Ellis played for a lot of teams, but he ended his career with the Philadelphia 76ers, right? The thing about Dale Ellis, right, is that he actually was not on the team that made it to the finals against the Lakers. He made it to the team before that year, right? So he wasn't even like a part of the important team. Like Dale, if you could have made it for one more year, you could have made the finals, baby. Like what the heck, right? But still, he is the oldest player in NBA 2K at 39 years old. And it's crazy how he's one of the younger players on this list, because even though 39 is old for like an NBA career compared to other people, it's like not even comparable, right? And NBA 2K1, it is Rick Mahorn. This one's kind of crazy because Rick Mahorn was on the Bad Boy Pistons, right? And he also was on the Bullets, where he was like a great player, right? Like he was playing back in, I believe, like the 80s, right? So he was known as like an 80s NBA player. And here he is in NBA 2K1 with a terrible face cam, by the way, on the Miami Heat. It's just crazy. 42 years old. This dude was massive, a great player for a long time. I did not realize he was in the NBA for so long. At NBA 2K2 is John Stockton. I mean, obviously, 39-year-old John Stockton was in the NBA for a really, really long time. Was consistent, one of the best playmakers, maybe even the best playmaker of all time. Okay, well then again, there's magic. But besides that, John Stockton's been in the NBA was in the NBA for such a long time. And I gotta be honest, in NBA 2K2, why is his face scan so decent? It's low-key better than the one in NBA 2K22 if we're just keeping it real. I'm just saying. I mean, in NBA 2K3, you're not gonna be surprised here. It's John Stockton again. And again, he looks actually somehow like worse, but 40 years old, not a single gray hair on his body, which is actually hilarious to me. But John Stockton, again, like I said, it shows you how long of a career and how successful he was, where even when he was 39, it wasn't even his last year. 40 years old, he did it again. So back-to-back years, the oldest player in the NBA is super impressive. John Stockton is one of the greatest of all time. Now we have Kevin Willis, 41 years old, on the San Antonio Spurs for ESPN Basketball, which was NBA 2K4. Well, Kevin Willis actually won a championship with the Spurs, believe it or not. And I think he played for like 21 seasons. He has a really underrated career. He was really good with the Atlanta Hawks, and then with the Spurs, I mean, he actually played a little bit of a role with the Spurs to win a championship. I mean, it wasn't a big role, but he actually played well to help them win a championship. Like, at 41 years old, to say that you're contributing on a championship level team, there's not a single person on this list that can say that besides Kevin Willis. That's impressive. And we're going to stay with Kevin Willis on ESPN NBA 2K5. He was 42 years old. But the difference here is that he went back to the Atlanta Hawks. Technically didn't end his career with the Atlanta Hawks because he technically played with the Mavericks when he was 44, but they don't have that in the next 2K because I guess it was only 5 games, so they didn't count it. But he was 42 years old with the Atlanta Hawks to play in, I mean, half a season, not even half a season, right? And he wasn't good anymore, but still, he wanted to go back to the team that he was with for such a long time, and you gotta respect that. Up next in NBA 2K6, oh yeah, it's Kevin Willis again with the Atlanta Hawks. Yeah, dude, this guy's different. In NBA 2K6, the oldest player. I don't know what happened with the graphics in NBA 2K6, but like, oh my god, those are terrible. But still, there's Kevin Willis. Now in NBA 2K7, we have Dikembe Mutombo at 40 years old. No. I'm sorry, I'll never do that again. Mutombo, dude, he makes an NBA Finals appearance at like 35 years old as a Defensive Player of the Year in 2001. And then here he is 40 years old with the Rockets, still being a great player. Isn't that like, he's one of those players that doesn't make any sense how good he was for how long. Like, and he was a center. I mean, it just didn't make sense how good he was, and yet he was a defensive force. And those graphics in this 2K era is awful. I don't know what they were thinking. And I just want to say, technically, this should be Kevin Willis because he played 5 games with the Mavericks. That's crazy. We have Mutombo again on NBA 2K8, another year with Tracy McGrady with Yao Ming, where he was a fantastic player, a defensive force. at 41 years old. Makes no sense. Oh, you thought that was the last year of Dikembe Mutombo? 42 years old again on the Rockets, and again this face scan is straight doo-doo water. Now, after Mutombo's retirement, we have Lindsey Hunter, 39 years old for NBA 2K10. Probably the least popular name on this list, but he was on the Bulls, and he contributed. He was on the team. Then NBA 2K11, it's the same player, Lindsey Hunter, 40 years old, with D Rose's Bulls. I mean, again, same thing. Not the biggest name here, but hey, he made it for 2 years as one of the oldest players in the league. That's crazy. Now, for NBA 2K12, it is Grant Hill, 39 years old with the Phoenix Suns. I mean, can you really be surprised with Grant Hill being here? It's Grant Hill. It's always going to be the players that had a long legacy and a great career that are going to be playing to their 40s, because I mean, LeBron's going to be playing till his 40s, assuming no injuries happen. And even then, Grant Hill was riddled with injuries, and he was still playing till 39. And you're going to see in a second 40, because in NBA 2K12, it's Grant Hill again with the Clippers at 40 years old. That Clippers team is low-key the most stacked team of all time. Like, it had so many great players. Grant Hill was one of them, and it's just cool to see. Now, up next, at NBA 2K14, it is Kurt Thomas, 41 years old on the Knicks. Now, Kurt obviously didn't get a lot of minutes, and 41, I mean, he's the first player on this list that's older and has gray hair on his beard, right? Like, nobody else had gray hair besides Kurt Thomas for some reason. But yeah, Kurt Thomas, here you go, 41 years old on the Knicks. Up next, we have Steve Nash, 40 years old on the Lakers. We know how that went. Steve Nash is still one of the greatest point guards of all time, 2-time MVP. At 40 years old, was still actually playing at a pretty decently high level. And again, in NBA 2K16, 41 years old, and again, was still playing at a pretty high level. So good, in fact, that they decided to make him the coach for the Nets, where he's succeeding as a coach as well. It's crazy. NBA 2K17, 40-year-old Andre Miller. Two things. First, who in the hell allowed that face scan? I'm scared. Second, gray hair. One of the first people to have gray hair on their head, actually, which is, you know, when you're 40, I'm 25 and I'm starting to get some gray hairs. When you're 40, you're going to have gray hair. I don't care if you're an NBA player that have all the money in the world. You're going to gray out eventually. Now, NBA 2K18, you got to get used to this name because we're going to be here for a while. Vince Carter, 41 years old on the Kings. And remember, he was 41 contributing. Do not forget that he was actually playing well at 41. And we'll continue. NBA 2K19, Vince Carter on the Atlanta Hawks, 42 years old, contributing. It's something about the Hawks that they like to have their old players, by the way. But again, another year of him like just being an important NBA player, hitting threes, dunking. Oh, by the way, in NBA 2K20, Vince Carter. Man, the graphics got a lot better in 2K20. Vince Carter, 43 years old, still contributing. In fact, I don't think there's a single NBA player besides Vince Carter. Maybe Kevin Willis can put a foot in, but that was 43 and was still contributing decently on an NBA team. No one else can say that. Vince Carter's a legend. Now at NBA 2K21, we have Jamal Crawford, 40 years old. And Jamal Crawford, the year before when he was on the Suns, dropped like a 50 bomb, right? At 39. And he's like a bench player. And who, like, he's so good. He's so technically good, like skill-wise. It's insane. If you use him on the Brooklyn Nets in 2K21, you know how broken he was as well. He's so fun to use. At 40 years old, he was still elite. And finally, Udonis Haslem, NBA 2K22, 41 years old. If there's a player on this list that we are guaranteeing is going to have his jersey retire with the Heat, it's Udonis Haslem. Crazy long career. Maybe was never the best player, but a locker room presence for sure. He's more of a coach now than a player, if we're just keeping it real. But he's been on this team for so long, and he is adored by the NBA. And I believe this is his final year. I believe he's retiring after this. But 41 years old, Udonis Haslem deserves this. Okay, those are the oldest players of all time. What do y'all think? Leave it in the comments below. And if you like the channel, please give it a sub, and I'll see you guys next time.